Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Strawberry Hill Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Simmons, and we're here at the Shop Cigar Lounge. Like I say every week, you got to come see us. We're down here at Strawberry Hill. Before we get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms at Strawberry Hill Podcast. And today, I am super excited. I know I say that a lot, but today I actually am super excited. We get to have U.S. representative of our district. She's been serving the community since 2018.
I got elected in
18, yeah. We'll count that year too.
Okay. I'll take it.
We have Miss Sharice Davids. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
And I'm
here
excited
too.
for us to play pool in a little bit.
Yes. We might cut it short so we can play a little bit of pool. But it's fine. I don't know if I'm going to play because I don't want to have that on my conscience that she beat me. But I can laugh at Esai over here when she beats him. Because, you did the whole little pool shark. You're like, I might be all right.
Good?
Yeah, I played before.
Usually do have to worry.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I played that much pool.
I feel like you're like, yeah, exactly. I feel like you've seen like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when he's like, oh, we're playing pool. And he's like, bring out Lucille, like the stick. I feel like that's you. I feel like there's like.
I mean, I'm not Uncle Phil level, I don't think so.
Oh, we'll see.
We'll see.
So, how you been? I know you're busy, super busy as always.
Yeah.
Like being in that world that you're in, that you probably have meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, like, personally, I have my health, I have my family, I've got my little dog, I've got my partner, I've got there's a lot of stuff that just helps me keep sane and my energy levels up and feeling healthy. And I'm so glad because right now things feel so chaotic and I do have I go to a lot of meetings. I'm like, when I'm here at home, I'm spending a lot of time going to, tour places, meet with people. And, I think that the level of stress and anxiety that so many people are feeling right now, frustration and anger too.
Yeah.
I try to make sure that I'm showing up and, I got to take care of myself so that I can show up and listen to people and talk to them about stuff.
Look at that. Our Vanna White over here is, and so you kind of live close to this area in, like, this is your district. Like how often do you get to spend some time in Strawberry Hill? Probably not enough.
Probably not enough for sure. But I feel like, I've gone over to like PAL, the Police Athletic League stuff. I was just here at, I guess I was over at, there was a big gathering. So the Cherokee Nation, which they're in Oklahoma.
That was at, I think it's Municipal Memorial Hall.
So I got to go over there the other day, because there's a bunch of folks who live in this area, even though their tribe is in Oklahoma. So, I basically, if I'm home and there's something going on and I get invited, I try to make sure to get over there.
Yeah.
This year I haven't been home as much because of the situation in DC. Because of the votes and stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But, so where'd you grow up at?
So my mom was in the Army. And I always tell people that, like,
An Army brat.
Oh yeah. I mean, my mom was a drill sergeant for a little while too. So
she was a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Oh.
We can get into that more later if you want. But we didn't move around as much as some of my friends did when I was growing up. But my mom does joke sometimes that I joined the Army and thought I'd see the world, and I mostly saw Kansas and Missouri. So we were. When I was real little, we were at Fort Riley. We were in Germany for a little while.
Really? Did you remember being in Germany?
Yeah, I remember. I remember some of it, but you're like on an army base.
Yeah, so it's not the same.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
So, but we did get to go to like Munich. In fact, my first ever concert my mom was stationed in Germany. I must have been like 8 or something. And it was Michael Jackson.
You got to see Michael Jackson in Germany.
Yeah.
You know how cool that is?
Bad tour.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so like, except for a few like core memories like that, it's mostly just living on an army base.
Yeah.
And then, but anyway, so my mom was a drill sergeant. She was at Fort Leonard Wood. So we were there for a long time. It felt like 6 years or something like that. And then, we went, and then my mom got stationed in Korea. And so, you don't take your kids when you go to the DMZ, or demilitarized zone. Yeah. In between North and South Korea. And so, I lived with a cousin of mine and then I graduated from Leavenworth High School because my mom got stationed at Fort Leavenworth. Yeah. So, it's kind of wild to be like, I didn't move around as much as some of my friends.
Yeah.
And it does feel like we lived in, a number of places. A lot of places.
So you grew up in Leavenworth, or you graduated from Leavenworth?
Graduated from Leavenworth
But then,
High School.
So it was just you and your mom growing up?
Oh, and my 2 brothers. So I have 2.
They older or younger?
They're younger. I'm like 8 and 9 years older than my brother. Oh. So I bring a lot of, like oldest energy, big sister energy. They're also both like 6 feet tall. And, it's funny because when you're the oldest and maybe this happens to parents, I have no idea. But one day when you realize like, wait a minute.
Yeah. You guys are all bigger than me.
When did this happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the middle child.
Okay.
So that was
how many?
Well, my dad, let's say he liked to have kids.
Okay.
So 8, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like kind of right in the middle. Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah. So it was a very chaotic. Well, I guess there wasn't all 8 at the same time in the house.
Okay. Yeah.
It was still. Well, I have a lot of brothers and sisters, so our family meetings or not family gatherings are a lot to deal with. But it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So in the middle, boys, girls, what's the breakdown?
I have a younger brother, older brother, and then the rest sisters.
Okay.
A lot of sisters.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish I could say I'm like, I guess I'm the biggest boy, but like my sister, she's not big, but she's like 6'1".
Really?
Yeah. She's like, I'm always like afraid of her. Like, she's going to beat me up one day. I'm always afraid of my sister. That's why I give her so much crap, because I don't want her to beat me up.
Yeah, 6'1". I always wanted to be 5'6".
How tall are you? You always wanted to be 5'6". You're like exactly 5'6", not 5'8".
And then I switched it to I just want to be taller than my mom, and I'm not. I'm 5'3", so I'm like 5'3 3/4".
Yeah, we just put 5'4". We'll round up. Yeah.
I don't know. It feels disingenuous to say I'm 5'4". But I think I'm 5'8". So
that's fine.
There's somewhere in the middle there that
I'm sure we can like edit the Wikipedia page. Is like Sharice Davids 5'8".
5'8".
Yes.
Or it could, even if it just said 5'8" energy, I'd be good with. I
think you got like 6 foot energy.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
From all the
wait until we play pool, then we'll decide.
So you grew up in Leavenworth, and then so I saw that you kind of jumped into like law school, right?
Oh.
Or not
There's
law school,
not
like
enough space on the Wikipedia page for that part. That's why it maybe comes across that way. So it took me 4 years to get my associate's degree. But I kind of went to all the metro area schools. Like I went to KU. I went to Haskell Indian Nations University, which is also in Lawrence. I went to DeVry. I thought I wanted to do computers. Yeah. Whatever that means. Just dabbling, like, let me figure out what I want to do. Yeah. And then I went to Johnson County Community College and got my associates there. And then I went to Rockhurst. I played tennis there for a year. Oh, you're a tennis player, huh? Yeah. So you're like a jack of all trades. Tennis, pool, I'm sure basketball or something. Ping pong. Beer pong. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like... actually like legit obsessed with ping pong right now, or table tennis. And then so I spent a year at Rockhurst, and I like walked on to the tennis team and like loved it. And also it's a great school too, but I was like, this is too expensive. So I transferred to UMKC, and then I finished my bachelor's at UMKC. So I went to a lot of schools, and then so all of that took 8 years. That's fine. And then I went to law school. Yeah. So what made you want to like say like, all right, law school it is? That's a great question. It's actually kind of a funny, like roundabout story. So I used to go study down at Broadway Cafe. And in Westport. And I went there because they didn't have internet. I don't know if they do now, but they didn't then.
Hopefully they have internet. Yeah.
Well, but it was kind of at that time, I think it was an intentional thing of like, so that people come in and they're actually like visiting with each other and that kind of stuff. And so
I kind of do the same thing here. I don't really tell a lot of people my Wi-Fi password.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be on your phone. Just relax.
Yeah. But so I would go there to study because then I wouldn't get distracted by whatever random thing I would be, like looking at on the internet or whatever. And there was a guy there. His name's Austin. And I saw him there all the time. And like one day I was like, can I ask you something? And he's probably like, what is this woman doing? I was like, why are you always here? I mean, I know why I'm here. I'm studying and they don't have the internet, so I can keep, so I can concentrate. And then he literally was like, oh, I'm a first year law student. So he started telling me about being in law school, and he was like, I'm a non-traditional student. And then one day he invited me to this, like a diversity in the law event. He was like, hey, you should consider coming over there. And I mean, it was free lunch. And I was like, I'll see you Tuesday. Yeah. And then I went to this, basically like a talk, and the woman who was the dean of admissions or the dean of students, she was one of the deans. She gave this talk, and by the end of it, I was like, I'm hooked. I gotta go to law school. Her name is Dean Debbie Brooks. And I was like, I'm gonna go start studying for the LSAT. So then on the weekends, I just went, and because I still had like another like at least 2 semesters, I think, to finish. This was before law school. You had 2. Yeah. Like when I went to this talk, and then I ended up, I like on the weekend studied for the LSAT, and then I took the LSAT, and then applied to UMKC because that's where I was going for my business degree at the Block School. And then I ended up going to this program for Native students who were about to start law school. Yeah. So I had gotten accepted by UMKC, and while I was at that program, it was an 8-week program, and the whole goal of the program is to help make sure that students make it through their first year, because the first year of law school, especially when the program started, is like, that's when most of the time, if people aren't going to make it through law school, it's like during that time. So, and while I was there, the director of the program was like, you should apply to, have you considered applying at other schools? Because I was doing well in the program. Yeah. And she was like, what about this place? What about that? And I was like, no, I want to go to UMKC. Like, I want to stay in Kansas City. I want to, that's where my support system is, my friends, my family. Yeah. And then she was like, you should apply to Cornell. And I literally was like, Cornell's not going to take me. Like, I went to all these schools. I'm like, I guess in my mind, it was kind of like, you got to be top of the class and, plan to go to law school your whole life or something. And I applied, and I ended up literally getting in. Like, I was going through the orientation at UMKC. And you got accepted. Someone called me and was like, there's a space available for you. Like, do you want it? And I was like, yes. Absolutely. Yeah. And then they were like, and now you need to send us $750 to hold the seat. And I was like, jeez. Oh, can I call you back? let me get my mom and my grandpa, and, but it all like, pulled the money together, sent it off, and then hopped in my Saturn and drove out to Ithaca, New York for the first time, having never been out there.
Wow, you drove all the way out there.
Yeah.
Whew.
In my Saturn that everybody used to make fun of.
Hey, it got you there?
Like, it sounds like a wind-up toy.
It
and I'm
does.
like, yeah. And then I wound it up and I drove to New York. So
One of my buddies had one in high school, and we used to say, like, it sounds like a toy car.
Yeah.
Hey, it
But
got
it
you there.
ran.
Yeah.
I think I got like 163,000 miles out of that bad boy.
Jeez. So how long, like, so I guess, so did you finish law school?
Yes.
And then, so when, yeah.
Actually, it was funny because I worked the whole time I was in school. So when I got to law school, felt
Where did
like
you work at? Probably like
all of the
numerous places.
But,
And this is New York.
Oh no, when I was here, I've worked at both the Sonics in Leavenworth. I worked at the Sonic out on Black Bob in Olathe. Actually, there's two
I didn't
Sonics
know
out
you worked
there.
at Sonic.
Yeah, man, I worked. That's actually my longest job, except for this one.
Really?
Yeah, it was 5.5 years of being, and I started off as a car hop, and then I was an assistant manager, and then like a couple of different types of assistant managers. So there's.
Did you have to? Were you required to wear the skates like back in the day?
I mean, I wore them as often as I could. That's how you get the tips.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't do it because there's too many curbs. I'm like,
yeah,
I would
there's
fall.
a lot of curves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of so I know how to skate, quads, and I think that like the time I spent working at Sonic is actually some of the most like informative and helpful in terms of skills of like the kind of not okay.
No, I got you. Like, because
yeah.
you develop like IPC skills, like interpersonal communication skills.
Yeah.
You learn how to talk to people.
Yeah.
You're dealing with every like everyone there. Like all walks of life come at fast food
And also,
places.
like, people get mad at you about stuff that it's like you can tell. I don't know. You start to be able to tell, like, man, this person's got something going on today, and like, just give
You're
him
like,
give
You're
him a
yelling
couple
at me
packs
for
of
your
fries.
cherry
like, give him
limeade.
a couple, like, let's give him a coupon, and like, we did mess this up, and like something else is going on, so let's like try not to make let's not make anything worse.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I was a delivery driver for a boutique wine company. So I worked up in the caves up in Parkville, and I drove around
Really?
delivering wine all over the city. I worked at Westport Coffee House. I worked in another place called Coffee Break. I don't think it's there anymore. I've done like
Lots of jobs. Yeah.
Lots of
so
jobs.
you can honestly say, like, I've done my fair share of.
I've had quite a few different kinds of jobs. That's right.
So when you were up in, I guess, doing law school in Cornell, like, what kind of like law were you practicing?
Oh, so in law school, it's actually really interesting. In most law schools across the country, your first year is
I guess
very
you're
similar.
learning law.
Yeah, it's like contracts and constitutional law and
Kind of like the police academy. I'm thinking.
Yes,
It's
civil
like
procedure.
the first like 3 or 4 weeks we're just learning law. It's like, oh,
We learn about Miranda rights.
Yep.
Like you take civil procedure and criminal procedure, and you basically just kind of learn like how the American legal structure is. You learn a little bit about other countries. Like Germany and France have a completely different, like the way they do it is different than us. And I mean, I'm not expert on any of that, but but I did focus a lot. I never wanted to be in the classroom.
Courtroom, yeah.
I liked being in law school. I felt like I hit my stride in life when I got to law school, but I knew I didn't want to be like. I love to watch Law and Order, but I never wanted to be like dun dun, and then I'm standing in front of the judge or something.
I know that feel. I know what you're saying because like I was a detective at the sheriff's office, and it's like it's not like it is on TV. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of courtroom stuff. Just like I just want to solve cases. Like this is not as cool as I thought it was. So yeah.
I also found out that like being a lawyer is basically being a writer. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I just was like, I knew I wanted to do some kind of like business stuff or like something like that. So I ended up doing mergers and acquisitions. And I took a bunch of classes related to like business law. Like I took a ton of tax classes, even though I knew for sure I didn't want to do taxes, but I wanted to know when to call the expert.
Yeah.
The answer is pretty much always. Like, oh, tax, call the expert. Like, so, and then I moved home like right after, and I worked at a law firm down on the plaza, and I got to do mergers and acquisitions, and I hated it.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Like it just wasn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny because, I don't know. You always, like you get a random idea in your head, and it's like I want to try to do this, or like being a detective. It's like there's some parts that are like exactly what you imagine, and then other parts that you're like.
Yeah, I tell people like because a lot of people ask like why did you get out of law enforcement? And I tell them like I loved it until I didn't love it anymore. Like I fell out of love with it, and then it's like I got to find something else to do. Like you know, like you, it's like this is not what I want to do forever. Like you want to do something bigger. And so I guess how long did you do all that stuff for law or here? Like
practicing law and stuff, just a couple of years. And then I ended up doing, so I was doing mergers and acquisitions, but I also got the chance to work on like tribal level economic development stuff. So different tribes around the country at any given time are doing, like they're building a tribal office building. They're, I didn't really do a lot of gaming stuff. So like casinos, but hotels, gas stations, convenience stores, like just all kinds of like, you know, if you think about different economic development stuff. So I got to do that for a little while, and then I decided to do I went nonprofit, and it was still more community and economic development work stuff.
Yeah.
So I actually like lived and worked on a reservation in South Dakota.
That's cool. You've done a lot.
I mean, it's
before
kind of actually
all
like,
this politics stuff. Yeah.
But it was like super rewarding. I mean, I still have student loans and stuff, but but the actual work was amazing. And also I feel like I got the chance to learn stuff that like I never would have learned if I was like still at a big law firm. Yeah. And not to say like I learned a ton at that too, even if I didn't necessarily like it. It was more just the like, you know, in the way that I say that when I went to law school, I didn't know it was like basically writing all the time. And I guess I had a different image in my mind. Like you said, there's a lot of paperwork, and I'm like, very like, I got to move around. You know, so a lot of energy.
I guess what was when was the transition to like, all right, I don't want to do this anymore. So I guess what was next after that? Like, did you jump in straight into like, let me try this?
I'm going to run for Congress. Yeah. So I decided to apply to this thing called the White House Fellows Program, which is this like.
So what year are we at right now?
16.
Okay.
Well.
So not too long ago.
Well, when it's like a kind of a crazy program. I heard about it when I was in law school, and I looked at the information I looked through, and then I looked to see who some of the people were who were doing the fellowship. And it's usually like about 15 people, 15, 16, somewhere around there.
Like around the country?
Yeah, but you go and you spend a year in DC.
Yeah. I mean, they only pick like 15 people? Oh, wow.
And like thousands of people apply.
Yeah.
So I had seen it when I was like in law school, and I looked at it and was like, there's just like reading through the bios and stuff. I was like, I'm not going to get.
You're always
this isn't for me.
Yeah, you always underestimate yourself.
Yeah, it seems like it, but they're good lessons actually. So when the director of that program was like, when I said Cornell's not going to take me, she was like, well, they're not going to take you if you don't apply.
Very
And I was
true.
like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's like the whole Michael Jordan saying,
Yeah.
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
You don't take.
Yeah.
And then, so I ended up, I forgot what we were talking about.
So you were like, no, I forgot.
Now
what
we
were talking
forgot.
about. Yeah.
The point is never underestimate yourself.
So no, we were talking about your transition. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I applied to be a White House. So
Yeah, the
at
White-
that time,
White House,
somehow
yeah.
it like popped into my head. I was like, oh, I should check and see what this when's the deadline? What's the thing? And and I looked at it, and that time when I read through the bios and the different things, I was like, oh
I can do this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I should at least apply. And then I got to the regionals, and then I got to the finals, and the application takes that process takes like 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
So it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I started in August of 16 and finished in August of 17. So I got to spend basically.
I didn't know
a
that
year
was
in
like that
DC.
recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very recent.
Yeah.
So I was there during the transition from Obama to Trump.
Wow. Yeah. You're like, yep.
Bring that plant over here. Dog's barking, can't fly with an
Yeah.
umbrella. So I learned a ton. I learned about how the federal government works. I learned, and I had already kind of started seeing a lot of how the federal government impacts so much of our daily lives, and how few of us know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I learned that because of the work I was doing with different tribal communities and that kind of thing. But it felt like a true across the board. You know, there's all these different things where the federal government touches our lives.
Yeah.
But you know, there's not like some blinking thing that says like this is a federal
Yeah.
government thing. And like it's a massive. Literally, the United States federal government is the largest organization in the world.
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I guess it does make sense.
Isn't
yeah.
it wild? To think about how, just like how big this is, like how big our country is, how big our government is. And so I got out there, I got to spend my year, you get a placement. So you're in a different department.
What department were you at?
I was at transportation. So,
Did you get to move around, or was like that was it?
Yeah. So once you get your placement, that's where you're at, and you get placed with a cabinet level official. So Anthony Fox was the Secretary of Transportation when I started, and then when the Trump administration started, then it was Elaine Chao, who had been a White House fellow.
Yeah.
So like there were 16 of us in my class.
It sounds like it's a pretty prestigious program. If people are,
it's kind of crazy because when I decided to apply, I think I didn't realize how, it feels like one of those things that, when, I don't know if actually I'm all, when this thing happens, like, I don't know if this happens to you. I remember the first time, I ever went to Las Vegas. I was like, right at 21, probably. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I don't remember a lot from those days. That's all I'm going to say. No, but I remember being like, wow. And we walked past these shops, and I was like, look at this. And we went in, and I picked, and it was like a shoe with diamonds on it or some shit. I don't know.
You can, okay. You're good.
And I literally was like, bro, well, I probably wasn't saying bro all the time then. I was probably like, dude, it was like $5,000 or something crazy. Like, and then I was like,
yeah, put that back.
And you like slowly exit the, and then I looked up and to see what store is this? And I was like, this is so fancy. I've like never even heard of it. That's what I felt about the White House Fellows when I finally realized how kind of like, to me, in my mind, it was like when I got into Cornell, that felt like not normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's like you just feel like it's almost like
it's like, who goes to Cornell?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
or something.
Yeah. It's
right?
like I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. Like
Yeah.
this is like so cool. So did you know that like did you know going into like the White House fellowship program, like you're like, I'm gonna get into politics, or you're just like,
No.
let me try this out?
No, actually, and the program really isn't like it's like I used to tell people bipartisan, but it's actually nonpartisan.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like the group that the fellowship class that I was in was like pretty diverse in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
It was racially diverse. There were like, you know, men, women, LGBT, like a couple of us who were part of the LGBTQ community. There was less socioeconomic diversity than I would have liked to have seen, but it's also like, it's so hard to get in.
Yeah.
That like it also isn't surprising. But there's always some active duty military folks. We had five and then one reservist. Yeah, so it's like it's like a very diverse group of people, including like, you know, ideological and that sort of thing. And it's so interesting because before I got into politics, it wasn't like I learned so much stuff all the time where they're like, you know, well, when Congressman so-and-so, blah, 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 and, you know, was the chairman of this thing. And I'm like, yep.
Gotcha.
I'm like, so in the 70s, yeah, you know, and, but so I'm not, so I just like, I voted, but I wasn't like into politics,
into it. Yeah.
You know, I didn't, I just wasn't like all into it. And then, I'm a huge nerd, so I'm into the policy
There's nothing wrong with
stuff.
that. I'm a huge nerd too.
Oh yeah.
So.
I mean, I feel like, you know,
I always tell people I'm a comic book nerd. Yeah.
oh, are you?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm a nerd with a whole bunch of other stuff, but
I'm a sci-fi person. I haven't really gotten into
Star Wars or
comics.
Star Trek.
I mean, I think they each serve their
Okay,
purpose.
that's a good answer.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not trying to piss off either of the sides.
Well, and I also like, I mean, I really am. If it's sci-fi, I'll watch it. Even if it's like, you know, I don't know. I've seen all the different Stargate series.
Yeah.
Stargate Atlantis is my favorite of the series. Like, truly, if it's if it's sci-fi, I'll probably watch it.
I'm like that too. That and like mystery movies and stuff like that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So anyway, sorry, we got real off topic.
Well, maybe we'll come back to the sci-fi.
Yeah.
So, what was the question?
So I guess we're good.
Let me drink more of this coffee.
Yeah. No, it was just like, I guess like your transition to like, you were in the White House, learning the whole program. And then it's like, I guess like, when did
the federal government works? And I would say there were two big things that if I hadn't done the White House Fellows Program, I'm not saying I never would have run for office, but I probably wouldn't have felt as empowered to run for Congress. But it was literally like there's definitely a lot of smart people out in DC. Whether you agree with them or not, and all kinds of stuff. There's like smart, driven, dedicated, diligent, nerdy people out there. And there were plenty of times where I could tell that if there was just a couple additional people with different experiences in the room. Yeah. In all kinds of places, like at the DOT, in the meetings that we got to have meetings with all kinds of high level federal officials, you know, secretaries and, you know, the chief of staff in the White House and that kind of stuff. And and this is not a knock on people, but I remember being like, I spent so much time when I got to Cornell, when I was doing the White House Fellows Program, just feeling like, man, I'm so lucky to be here. Like, and it's true.
Yeah.
I was lucky to be there. And there's like stuff that I'm bringing to the table that this is a two-way street.
Yeah.
And
you're there for a reason.
Yeah. And I felt like that experience where I got to see, sometimes I would ask questions and people would be like, oh, I've
never thought of that.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Let's look into it or whatever. And so it made me feel like it just made me feel empowered because I saw that literally like people like me being in a room can shift a conversation and broaden it. And then also that like most of these guys in DC, like in my mind, I'm thinking this is the capital of the United States of America, the most powerful country, and it turns out we're all just humans.
Yep.
And maybe some of them went to like fancier schools or got better grades than me, which is probably true. And they're just people who focused on something, they're people who focused on policy or focused on transportation or focused on, and in that way, it's that's like a very empowering thing because it's like, there's nothing special about you. I mean, we're all special.
Yes.
And like, it's kind of like, like I can do that.
You're like, that's what I was about to get to. Like, I bet you were sitting in those rooms like, I can do this and I can do it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some people, definitely. Yeah. I was like, oh, I could definitely do this better.
So when did you like, I guess like that clicked and did you just like, I guess how long was the program for?
It wasn't that long. So, so I live in Roland Park and I basically like, I bought my house. Like I lived with my mom when I first started my job at the law firm. So I could save money so I could buy a house. Because when I was younger, to me, it was like, if I buy a house, no one in my family, and my mom had just bought a house like maybe 5 years before that or something. And I don't know, in my head, I was like, if I buy a house, then no one in my family will ever have to worry about not having a place to stay.
Yeah.
And so I lived in my mom's basement when I first started my job and saved up some money and bought a house in Roland Park.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where no matter what, when I left to go to law school, when I went to South Dakota for a little while, when I went out to the DC thing, I want to be in Kansas. I want to be in the Kansas City metro area. I love living here.
Yeah.
Like
Kansas City's special.
Yeah. It's a great place to be. There's great people. I feel like the vibe of Kansas City is one that is like, you can always meet new people. You can always find cool stuff to do. And I feel like there is still a sense of community here.
Yeah.
And you can meet new people and there's still like a lot of connection.
Yeah.
Like there's very few degrees of separation. If me and you chatted for a little while, just trying to figure out, and so that to me is something that like not a lot of people get to have. So when I moved home, I really wanted to I had decided I want to do something in the 2018 election cycle. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then
when you got home, was that like the first like kind of election cycle that was around? Gotcha.
And then I just basically was like doing legal work to pay the bills, but was spending a lot of time going to stuff and like meeting people and, because Kansas City has such a vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. I was like going to a lot of the entrepreneurial stuff, like Startup Week and all the different, there's like always something going on. I was like, I want to do something. And then the congressional race that was going on, so Kevin Yoder, who I ended up beating, I was like increasingly frustrated and was like
I can do better.
Also he came in as a moderate, and I think it's Kansas and the Kansas third. I was like, it's not like I think that people are like, if he, in my view, if he kept being a moderate Republican, I don't think he would have been vulnerable, but he was really like saying and doing stuff that I felt like was like inappropriate, like not a good reflection of our area. So then I ended up like running and
getting it.
In fact, right over here on Fifth Street is where my first office was.
Really?
Yeah, the orange door, the building with the orange door. I think it's a driving company right now.
Yeah, right over here.
Driving.
I didn't know that
school.
was. Yeah. That's cool.
But, so I spent a lot of time over here and then I would walk over and get cupcakes at the cupcake spot when that was open. And oh, she's giving me the eyeball. She literally went like this.
Okay.
I think it's up to us.
We'll speed through some questions. Okay. Let me ask a couple more questions and we'll get to pool. So you win the race. You're in. Now you're in the house. You're doing great. But that's not what I want to talk about.
Okay.
And I know that you get asked about it a lot. I want to talk about your MMA stuff.
Okay.
Now, how in the world did you get into that stuff?
I mean,
because you are like the traveler of everywhere. I mean, like you've done everything. It seems like
it does feel like I've got like a. When I was going through all of it, it didn't feel like I was all over the place.
Yeah.
But now that I'm recounting, and then I went to this, and then I did that, and then I worked at this place, and then I did that. It does kind of seem that way. But so when I was like 19, I started working out at Prairie Life Center. I think it's a Genesis now or something. Yeah. But out by 103rd. Remember like Amini's Galleria and stuff? It was over there. So I started I joined the gym because I'm trying to stay fit, and there was a karate class going on. And I was like, oh my God, I grew up like obsessed with martial arts. Like
I saw you're a big Bruce Lee fan. Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, like kickboxer, Enter the Dragon, Bloodsport, all that stuff. No Holds Barred, like all of it. But also Only the Strong. Did you ever see that?
I don't think I had.
It's a capoeira movie. And so, they like stand in a circle like, I don't know it. Yeah. And anyway, there's a movie about it. It is.
I'll have to put that on my list.
It's like, maybe I would call it like cult classic that, if you're going to use Rotten Tomatoes to make a decision.
Oh, no. I don't ever do that.
Okay.
I don't trust their decisions.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not like, watch it. So, they had a karate class there, and I was like, oh my God, like my mom couldn't afford to pay for that kind of stuff when I was growing up. But I was like, I can pay for like martial arts classes now. I'm a grown up. And so I started doing karate, and then I started doing capoeira, and then I mostly just did capoeira for like 6 years. And then I started going to a gym where the coach and taekwondo master there was training people for fights. Yeah. And I'm like a very intense person. So when I like started training, I literally I would get up at 5 and go to the gym. You probably just went all into it. Yeah. And then go to work and then go back to the gym and take 2 classes.
Yeah, how did you have time for all this? Jeez.
It just was like all I did. Yeah. Literally and my partner at the time was also into martial arts and did fights and all kinds of stuff like that. So I literally was like training all the time, and my coach John was like, you should do a mixed martial arts fight. Yeah. And I was like, I don't.
Once again, you're like underestimating yourself.
But the thing is, because I mean, remember the first couple UFCs? I think it was like the second UFC before they were brutal. Like, don't bite each other. Yeah. I was like, I'm not trying to get fish hooked.
Yeah, I've seen like
eye
one
gouged
UFC where guys just punch this guy like right in his privates. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Or like when they could kick, like, there's rules against kicking someone while they're already on the ground now. So, but in my mind, I was like, oh, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
But then the more I trained, the more I was into it. And I actually love the like fight camp training phase because it's like, it's very intense. It doesn't matter how you're feeling. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter. You like, once you take a fight, it's like you have to show up. You have to go train every single day. You got to do your cardio. You got to do your technique. You got to do your, like, all the things. You have to cut weight. And it just was one of, like, to me, it's like this, like, really amazing way to just see how intense you can be. And you learn a bunch while you're doing it.
Do you still train at all? Like, or just kind of keep yourself?
I work out. I have a bag at my house. And there's a jujitsu place where I go occasionally, but not nearly as much as I would like.
Yeah, you're traveling all the time and doing stuff.
Yeah. So, so now I'm mostly into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That'll be my lifetime, my lifetime martial art. So I'm a purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I like, I don't know. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, that's like the coolest, like one of the coolest things about you. I was like, not only is she like in the U.S. house, but she can also beat you up. So,
well, sometimes it is funny because like sometimes people are like, "Could you take this person? Could you take that person? Could you take?" And I'm
you're
like,
"Yes." In my head, yes, but
it also. I'm also like, well, I mean, I'm gonna need to know the circumstances, but everyone has knees and a throat. So, like, maybe.
So, this will be my last question so we can play some pool. So, you've been in at the U.S. House since, what, 2020?
So, I got elected in 2018, and then I started in 2019 in January.
So, are there any other plans outside of this that you want to do? Or is this let me focus on this? Or is do you have bigger goals in the future?
Like, two things.
Are we going to see a Governor Sharice Davids maybe, or?
I can tell you, I have instructed / requested from the closest people in my life and anyone around me who's more than 5 years younger than me, that if I'm 80 years old in the U.S. House, drag me out of the building.
Drag you out, yes.
So that is like, I would like to at some point, not be doing this, but for right now, and especially with everything going on, I literally I can't imagine what else I would be doing with my life, and I actually kind of feel like, that part helps with, this is stressful. If someone's doing this job and they're not stressed, they're not doing it right.
You're not doing it right.
Yeah. And so I think that the fact that even if I stopped and was wrote out, what are cool things that I could possibly be doing? None of them feel that cool right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? None of them, I don't feel any kind of draw to try to do something else, which to me is a luxury that not a lot of people get, So, it's stressful. It's hard. Sometimes it's super exciting and sometimes it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That is one thing about this job. You can
There's
never
a lot
be
of weight
bored.
on your shoulders.
Yeah. You can never be bored. You can there's so much going on. I get to learn about all the coolest stuff going on in the Kansas 3rd, but in the Kansas City metro area.
Yeah.
It's, I didn't know what I was signing myself up for. I didn't know what I was signing myself up for.
But you're doing a damn good job of it.
I'm so glad I'm doing it. And I'm so glad, it is a lot to carry around and but I'm glad I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I came and joined you today.
Yeah, this was fun.
I didn't know if you were going to ask me about Waffle House or any of that kind of stuff.
No. We're definitely going to do another one because I have so many more questions. But I know that you are busy. Go.
I would say maybe I can join you with the guys, but also seeing some of the convo.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe at a future date.
That's him. Yeah.
Maybe at a future date.
You know, that would be cool if we did like a podcast together, and then just I would be like, hey, we got a surprise guest, and then you
And
come
then
on,
I'm
they'd
just
be
sitting
like,
there. And then if things are getting brought up that I'm like, then
Yeah.
I can I can be on the end.
you just move your mic, you're like, eh.
Yeah, have it make that noise.
She's talking about our podcast. Yeah, it gets to the why.
It's just a bit. I'm just sitting in the corner like.
I always tell people, I was like, so I have, my guests don't like to talk to and stuff like that. And then I have my friends on. And that gets a little wild. Like, don't judge me on those. Judge me on these.
Yeah.
Because even the ones I have like my buddies on, a lot of times I'm asking a question, I'm just like, I'm not going to say.
Look, we're all whole humans.
Yes.
So, all right.
Well,
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and I wish nothing but the best.
Thank
and
you.
all the success
Same
in the
to
world.
you.
Yeah.
And I look forward to coming watching some of this jazz.
And maybe we got to get you smoking a cigar. Maybe one of these times. Got to try it out. It's not bad.
Okay. I mean, I believe you.
You're like, all right, you don't pull my leg.
Well, I'll learn more about it.
Yes.
And as you teach me about it, I have a feeling.
You're gonna jump right into it, and you're gonna
Okay.
be like a cigar aficionado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you, like I said,
Thank you.
for coming on. And thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Strawberry Hill Podcast. And before we go, how can people find you? Like, how can they follow you? Instagram handle? Do you know
I have
that stuff?
Instagram.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. Instagram.
Sharice Davids. I think one of them is just Sharice Davids, and one of them is Rep Davids.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. And when's the next election? Do you know?
Next November.
Next November. Okay.
Yeah,
And make sure to vote. Go out and vote.
Register.
Register. Go out and vote. Be heard. Be seen.
Yeah. Or run.
Or run. No, don't run against her. All right.
Run for Congress. Okay. Let's.
And we are out.